What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaez Pearson, and this is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camello. What up, Chris?
Well, I went over the books, Shaz. I could do 3 no-show jobs, 2 carpenters, and 1 no work. It looks like move over Ralph Cifaretto and Vito Spatafor. There's a new sheriff in town, a part of the Soprano crew with the no-show jobs. His name,
Uh,
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard is the topic of conversation for the day, and we will get into all of Pablo Torre's new findings, his podcast, his 3,400 pages of receipts on Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. We'll get into all that. We'll also get into some other NBA news with the new NBA All-Star format officially dropping with the World versus the USA in a round robin. Micah Parsons was also traded by the Dallas Cowboys. We can't not talk about that because that has so many implications on the NFL and just the sports world in general. And of course, Chris, we have a baseball fight. We always got to get into those when those come up. It's about time we talk about everything, and we're getting to the best time of the year into sports. I know October is that month, but September, it is officially almost the end of summer as we're coming to an end, and we got Eurobasket coming up. We got all these things going on, but we got so much to talk about in tonight's show. If you guys are in the chat, definitely hit us with some questions. Let us know what you guys are thinking about, talking about, want to know about. But we have so much information for you guys tonight, and we have to start off first with Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers with the scandal it's turning out to be. Because here's the thing, Chris, like
Break
they
it down,
did
brother, man.
this isn't the first time that the NBA has opened an investigation on the Clippers involving Kawhi Leonard. They did so back in 2019 when Kawhi Leonard signed with the LA Clippers initially. And that was the thing. He was the biggest free agent. He was the guy that was going to be able to turn around a franchise, supposedly, allegedly. We will use the word allegedly a lot in this show tonight because nothing has been proven in the court of law, and all of this stuff is, I don't want to say hearsay, but it's a paper trail. And I watched the full hour, 20 minutes of Pablo Torre Finds Out, where he's on there with Amin Al Hassan, and he's on there with the former president of the Miami Marlins, who's gone through a lot of different sponsorship deals and stuff like that. Kawhi Leonard allegedly got $28 million from the Clippers that was funneled by Steve Ballmer through a company by the name of Aspiration. And they had supposedly wanted to change the carbon fiber footprint by planting trees. And they had sponsors and people endorsing their product like Robert Downey Jr., Leonardo DiCaprio, just to name a few. And Chris, at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard, in his contract, they got a hold of all of the paper that just shows that Kawhi Leonard was literally signing on the dotted line that he had to do nothing in order to receive $28 million, $7 million a year for 4 years starting on April 1st of 2022. And just so happened to create an LLC just 3-4 more months later prior to receiving that first payment. So there's a lot of fishy stuff going on. I'm just going to ask you straight up, what do you make of the findings, and what does this mean not only for the Clippers but Kawhi Leonard? Because if you think about it, this has only happened really once in the NBA where
Yeah.
somebody was found out and penalized, like Joe Smith back in 2000. And the precedent back then was 5 first-round picks, a suspension, a $3.5 million fine. But now it's 20 years later,
Yeah.
and Adam Silver has said if he finds out anything, he's going to come down, and the NBA officially opens up the investigation again. So what do you make of it, man?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think after we took a week off, I know we haven't really been around much in August, but the calendar slipped over September. So welcome back to our audience. Welcome back, Chaz. It is good to be back on just in general. And for once, I actually have good connection, so I'm proud of that going into it. So anyway, but yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, this was a story that broke early this morning. So while everyone's getting up, getting showered, getting their coffee, getting ready to, sit in rush hour traffic to get to work or school or drop the kids off or everything, you're hearing controversy around the Clippers. And the Clippers have, this is not anything new with the Clippers as far as like controversy, but certainly new with this ownership group, with Steve Ballmer, who kind of came in at such a controversial time post Donald Sterling, and obviously the racist remarks that were made, forcing the sell of the team. And Ballmer came in and has done a tremendous job, whether you're a Clipper fan or not. And I obviously, Chaz, I'm a diehard Laker fan, as are you, but you can't not admit that the Clippers have really cleaned up their image. They've become very pro player. They have built up a new arena that just opened this past year, the new Intuit Dome in Inglewood. So to hear something like this, it's a little surprising. However, a lot of people now were looking at this going back to 6 years ago, 2019, when Kawhi was a free agent, and the Toronto Raptors owner was trying to find a way to get more sponsorship money, more advertising, because Kawhi was not happy with whatever the max deal was going to be. So it forced these owners to look into other avenues that could appease the star player. Now, you might say, well, what's the difference? These guys are always, advertisers for athletic equipment, whether it be Nike, Adidas, or, Ruffles. We were just talking about that offline with Anthony Davis and everything like that. However,
right,
because now this company was not a prime time name like those other names I just mentioned, and it was a team sponsor backed by Steve Ballmer, right? And they were giving Kawhi $28 million to be a sponsor now, and Kawhi did nothing. And people within that company are saying, we paid Kawhi Leonard $28 million, and he basically did nothing. And obviously, you've been following the paper trail and everything like that. So there's just a lot of smoke surrounding this right now.
Well, he had seven people from the company.
Yeah, Pablo Torre had seven witnesses, right?
Seven witnesses, and one of which that came on and talked, albeit with his voice messed up. So that way, because of the pending investigations and everything that's going on.
For sure.
But man, I mean,
it's really stunning. However, there's also the allegations that Kawhi's Uncle Dennis. Remember, there was an investigation put into him. Was he tampering? Was he kind of undercutting these teams and negotiating in bad faith? Did he break any league rules? Now, at the time, the NBA did an investigation on Dennis Robertson, Kawhi's uncle, close confidant. I think he was also kind of like a manager, not an agent, but a manager, and really close to everything that was going on with Kawhi Leonard. His name got brought up a lot. So you wonder his involvement in some of this. And was this a deal that maybe he backdoored with Ballmer and the Clippers brass in order to get Kawhi to the Clippers? So there's a lot of stuff I still think we need to get figured out. And I'm sure there's going to be more to the story. But when you hear no-show job, we're going to pay you $28 million to do nothing. And there's two aspects to this. One, was it a phony company and a phony deal? And two, was this done to circumvent the salary cap? And now with the NBA, with their radar up and now doing their own investigation, that's something that we are going to find out in the coming days and see how aligned this situation is to what you just mentioned, what happened with Joe Smith and the Minnesota Timberwolves back in 1995 or 96.
So here's my linchpin. This is the main thing that I want to talk about with this thing, because there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to the emails, the planting of trees or the non-planting of trees that they're supposed to be doing, the money that they have supposedly going out versus coming in, everything like that. But I want to just get to the point that the NBA is going to uncover, like Pablo uncovered, that show that this was not an endorsement deal, but just money being funneled because of how it broke down. Take a listen to the former president of the Miami Marlins, read the contract and look at it in real time and figure out, man, what is this? Check it out.
David? I'm trying to come to grips with 2.10B here. And I'm sorry, but this is
Explain.
a major provision in the contract that
Please share.
I'm not used to seeing. It's called termination. It's when would an agreement be terminated?
Mhm.
So when can they say, you know what, we're not paying you? And normally there would be provisions for termination if you're a felon, if you're convicted of a felony,
Mhm.
sometimes if you're just arrested for a felony, if you do anything for disparagement, if you bring bad juju upon the company, it can trigger a termination. This termination, and, and it's a termination for cause, which
This is
means
in the aspiration endorsement deal.
this is in his $28 million endorsement deal. Termination for cause. If Leonard is no longer an employee of the team for any reason, and the team, capital T, is defined as the Clippers.
Yes.
So an endorsement deal that a company does with a player
Yeah.
is usually you don't always get the rights to their marks.
Right.
So it's like blank uniforms.
Yep.
And so it doesn't matter
No.
whether the player is playing for the Clippers or not. But in this agreement, it's a termination for cause if he's not an employee of the team. For avoidance of doubt, which is what you say in a contract, we want to make sure nobody
Don't
screws
get it
up.
twisted.
If Leonard is still being paid by the capital T team, but is a member of another NBA organization or has retired, either of those instances are a triggering event for termination by the company.
So an example of that is if Kawhi Leonard got bought out by the Clippers and then ends up signing with the Knicks. Technically, the Clippers are still paying him the remaining amount, but he is an employee of the New York Knicks now. And what that contract is saying very clearly, very bluntly, we're just going to tackle this right now in writing. If that happens, it triggers the termination clause.
I love that David just found that.
I can't.
Like,
Yeah.
bro,
By the way, that was David Sampson, former president of the I want to say then Florida Marlins, or maybe he was part of the Miami when they
Miami Marlins. He
Miami
did all the
Marlins,
sponsorship for the
So-
I think he broke at the Loan Depot deal.
Right, exactly. So the Lakers have their sponsors. Let's just use them as an example. The Lakers have their sponsors, and then LeBron has his own sponsorships, right? Anthony Davis, Luka, all of these guys have their own sponsorships that are separate from the team. That what makes this weird is the fact that Aspiration was a team sponsor, but specifically tied to Kawhi. And I've never really seen anything like that. I mean, even looking at all the Dodgers sponsorships, right, that they've gotten in the Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, now Roki Sasaki era, they've brought in a lot of these Japanese companies that have now become team sponsors, but they are still separate from Ohtani. For example, Ohtani has New Balance, right, Chaz? And
Right.
It's not like New Balance is the official shoe of the LA Dodgers.
No.
Everything on them still says Nike, and all their cleats are Nike and everything like that. So it's a very bizarre situation. And here's the thing I want to ask you. Because you do have the Joe Smith precedent, even though that was under, the old regime with David Stern, if they are found guilty of this, which obviously the Clippers have been adamant, if you look at their statement, they're adamant that they follow all league rules seriously, and Steve Ballmer and everything like that has always done everything by the book. But if they find that the Clippers are in fact guilty, what could this mean for them? I want to present that question to you first, and then I'll give you my opinion on it.
For some reason, I don't think that they're going to find them guilty, because it's going to just be such a black mark on the league's best owner. And I don't think they want to do that. So that's my opinion on it. I think it's unprecedented. I'm going to be surprised if they do an investigation. I mean, but the paper trail is there. Like,
Right.
if you watch the full hour, 20 minutes, it's like Pablo does the investigation for them.
For sure, yeah.
So based on just what they're finding in that just in that hour or however, I mean, he's been doing this. I think he started this investigation personally as a reporter for like 7 months ago. So just the fact that he being Pablo is doing all this work for, the feds and the NBA and anybody that really wants to listen, it's just unprecedented. But if I do think that they find them guilty or to do something that's confirmed, man, they're going to void Kawhi's contract. They're going to take away as many picks as the Clippers gave away to get Shai Gilgeous Alexander or
And
to
they don't have
get.
that many anyway right
If they don't
now.
have that many anyway, they're going to cripple
Yeah,
them. They're going to take away. They're probably just going to push them up into a second apron team for an extended period. Pretty much is what they're going to do while taking away draft picks and fines and suspending Ballmer and or Lawrence Frank or whoever else
whoever was
may or
involved.
may not
Yeah,
have been involved or known or whatever the case may be. So
for
yeah,
sure.
they're going to come down hard.
So
Whatever it is.
I'm gonna say one thing here. I always think the toughest thing to prove is intent. So what they, if they're like you said, they have the paper trail. They're going to look at Pablo Torre's findings, I'm sure, but they're going to launch their own investigation. This is what the league
No
does.
doubt.
I think somebody got punished recently, right? And lost of draft picks. Was it Miami or the Sixers? Somebody got punished and they lost some draft picks. They had to forfeit a first rounder or something like that. I can't remember the team name, but somebody
Yeah,
was
but
punished.
nothing crazy or like this where it's,
Nothing to this extreme, right? So there's a
yeah.
couple of things here. Two things I want to say before we move on. One, intent. If they prove that the Clippers not only did this, but they did this as circumvention of the NBA salary in order to pay a player more money than was legally allowed as part of the collective bargaining agreement, that is major right there. That is major. And two, the other league owners are small market guys, the Oklahoma Cities, the Charlottes, the Orlandos, teams like that, the Portland Trailblazers, the small markets who already have enough hard enough of a time competing with the LAs, the Lakers, the Miamis, the Bostons, Chicago, whatever. And even though the Clippers are, second tier JV in eyes of many LA sports fans, they're still Los Angeles. So you could see in 2012, Chaz, remember when everybody raised that stink about the Laker trade with Chris Paul and Jordan was complaining and Dan Gilbert was complaining because not only were the Lakers getting the best player in that deal, they were also saving money. And this was coming off of a lockout situation. So my point being is, if Adam Silver gets presented and gets pressed hard by enough of these owners, he will have to take some severe action on the Clippers and potentially make examples of them saying, listen, any y'all want to try this in the future, this is what's going to happen to you because there is no other option or precedent as far as a situation like this.
If there was ever a time I wanted Dan Gilbert and Mark Cuban and whoever else that nixed that Chris Paul trade to raise a stink about it against Ballmer and the Clippers, I need them to do that now. Sure. Because if it, like, take my personal fandom out of it as a Laker fan, like, who was the other team that almost got Kawhi Leonard if it wasn't for these impermissible benefits that Uncle Dennis and Kawhi Leonard were allegedly requiring in order for the Clippers to sign him? It was the Lakers. That was that other team that was waiting on him, and Toronto as well. But Toronto was a distant third. Like, we all knew they were just being used as leverage along with the Lakers. So if there's a team that I want to have the hammer come down on, it's the Clippers, because this whole the Lob City, the whole Kawhi, Paul George era, none of that ever worked out. And it looks like both of those times the Lakers were spurned. So go back to the drawing board and try again, Clippers, because a Clipper's just going to clip all day, all night, every day of every night of every week. So nobody's happier to see this than me personally. And I was actually giddy before we came on talking to Chris offline, talking about this, because like, what's done in the dark will come out in the light, especially when there's a direct paper trail. And because these people in this company like to just straight email back and forth, talking specifically about it. So when it all comes out, I can't wait for it. But man, it's just a hell of a subject that just came out of nowhere, to be honest. So,
well, anytime something comes out of nowhere, I always think, who's unhappy? Who is unhappy? Who is let go? Who's got a legitimate gripe? Hold on. Let me just finish. Who's got a legitimate gripe and has the juice to back it up? Because it's one thing to have a gripe and then make up a bunch of lies because you're angry. It's another thing to have a gripe and then say, I've been keeping my mouth shut, but I got the goods over what happened over here. So
I don't think
clearly,
anybody has a gripe, Chris. In finding out and watching this, nobody would have found out if the company didn't file bankruptcy. Because when they filed bankruptcy, when you file bankruptcy, you have to list who you still owe money to. And on that list of people that say they still owed money to, including the Clippers, was KL2 Aspire LLC that was created 5 months before the first payment, which was Kawhi Leonard's LLC that was still owed $7 million. And Uncle Dennis was blowing the horn to try and get the money before they went under. So I don't know if anybody has a legitimate gripe with a company like that, but how the whistle was blown on this was directly by Pablo because of the bankruptcy filing that happened in recent months. So man, it's we'll see what happens when this snowball gets stops rolling, because it's currently not even halfway down the hill, I don't think, at this point.
And it's a black eye for an organization that's had to work really hard. And I don't want to, I want to just talk to the Clippers real quick, just with the sense of humility. This was an organization that was the laughing stock of the league for a very, very long time under Donald Sterling, and how they treated players, how they treated Elgin Baylor, their former executive, how they treated coaches, and how many people complained about Sterling. Ballmer had a lot to basically clean up when he inherited the Clippers and try to rebrand them. And now he's going to get potentially caught up in a different kind of a mess, but a mess nonetheless. And it's like that ghost of Donald Sterling continues to haunt this organization in some aspect or another. And it's just like, damn, here's this team rebranded once again, new arena. They come into the this season, Chaez, with a lot of high expectations, even though I don't think they're going to go super far, but still be a good, second round caliber team. And it's all for naught. So, or potentially could be all for now. We'll see what the NBA finds and what is next for the Clippers. I think the next month, maybe 2, is certainly going to be interesting to watch for this team. And it's going to make covering that media day a hell of a lot more interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, they'll get this done probably before the season starts. So we'll see. Keeping it in the NBA really quick, dropped some news they did today from Shams Charania of ESPN that the All-Star format that's been rumored is officially going to be coming to the NBA in 2026 in Los Angeles, ironically in the Intuit Dome in February of next year. 3-team round robin, 2 USA teams, 1 world team. You have to be from a different country in order to be on the world team. I know this is just another last-ditch effort to save the All-Star game. We should just go back to East versus West. Everybody, if you're an away team, you just wear your regular jersey like they did in 2002, East versus West. Play hard for 3 quarters, and if it gets close, put your best players in and let them take you home. That's how the All-Star game was played. Let's continue to play it that way. But no, we can't, because guys are just too stubborn, yada, yada, yada. I'll get off my soapbox. But Chris, what did you make of this new format and seeing potentially Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Şengün, Shea all on the same team? Are they going to wipe the floor with Team USA, or is this going to bring out some pride, you think, out of these players?
I'll answer that one in a second. Let me just say this about Adam Silver. The one thing you can't ever accuse him of is trying, right? And to quote the dad from 21 Jump Street, let me tell you something. This guy, meaning Jonah Hill, was a great trier. That is Adam Silver. Adam Silver is a very good trier, okay? No one deserves a participation trophy for being the last pick on the soccer field than Adam Silver. He's doing a tremendous job on that aspect with the heart and the hustle that he puts out there in the form of trying to salvage this All-Star game. This is all going to fall on the players. This is a cool idea. All right, we'll see. They kind of did a version of this past year, and it was just kind of whatever. Look, if these players don't care, I don't care what you do outside of saying whoever wins is going to get, $100 million each. You're not going to get extra effort out of this. But I do like the USA World concept. Yeah, Team World, don't sleep on them, man. If you got just a lineup that has Jokic and Luka Doncic on it, that team is going to do some things. And of course, you got Giannis in there, Donovan Mitchell is from Panama, Karl Anthony Towns, different guys and everything like that you wouldn't think are part of Team World, but they are. And of course, Shea and Jamal Murray, and if he makes an all-star team, but a lot of the Canadian players as well. I like the effort, but I still think this is going to fall flat somehow. It just has. And it's not just the game itself, Chaez. It's the entire All-Star weekend outside of maybe the three-point shootout.
Yeah, it's round robin. Come on.
I know, dude. Are we playing? You know what this reminds me of? My brother Johnny used to work on these after-school playgrounds, and these schools would play each other in a kickball tournament on Saturday mornings and stuff. It was different schools. They were, but it's almost like you have to go back to the schoolyard style now just to generate any interest, not just from the fans, but from the players themselves, especially from the players themselves. So I agree. Go back to East versus West. Go back to where it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Everyone wears their jerseys and stuff. But unless these players care, then these games, I don't give a shit what the formats are. They're going to fall flat. And that's just where we're at this point. And I love All-Star Weekend. It comes on right after the Super Bowl. It's fun. It's good to see all these different players who are enemies for most of the year or playing against each other now, playing with each other. It's always fun. But the last few years, it's been rough. It looked like they were getting their stuff together for a little bit in 2020 and 2021. But since then, Chaez, junk, brother.
It's been pretty whack. So I think it's going to stay pretty whack unless the world team wins it and it has everybody talking shit about guys like Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, KD, LeBron, if they're on the team, Steph. If all those guys are getting flack for losing to some of the best players on the world team that are, Wembanyama, who's definitely going to be an all-star this year.
Yeah, Şengün, you look what he's doing in Eurobasket right now, man. That dude is probably quickly becoming the second best center in the NBA. Move over, Joel Embiid. Şengün's got you beat right now.
Yeah. So we'll see. I like that they're trying, but I don't know if it's gonna work out. But guess what? I'm still gonna tune in because just love the game, man. So
well, Chaez, we need something to talk about that next Wednesday after the Sunday's All-Star game, right?
Right, of course. But that weekend will be leading up into Super Bowl weekend. And speaking of the Super Bowl, there's a new team that might have some better odds to get there, and that would be the Green Bay Packers after getting Micah Parsons in a trade with the Dallas Cowboys. Chris, what do you make of Jerry Jones and him just being who he is and trading away Micah Parsons, 26-year-old, all-pro, only guy to have as many sacks as him in the first 4 years each was Reggie Jackson. He gets $47 million a year, 188 guaranteed, most ever by a non-QB. What do you make of it? What does this mean for him and the Green Bay Packers? And how did this break down on Jerry's end by trading one of his best players, probably of all time on the franchise?
Yeah. I know the last time we were on here, we were talking and you said this felt different. And I was like, yeah, it kind of does, but I still believe they were going to get a deal done just because the recent sample size was what? Dak, CD, Zach Martin, and they all got deals done, and I even cited the San Francisco 49ers with Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. And even now with Jawan Jennings, they just John Lynch just cut a deal at the deadline with the season starting in like 3-4 days. They added $3 million more. So you always got the sense, oh, they're not going to probably trade him, but who knows? Maybe they won't get a deal done and Parsons will just suck it up and play out the 5th year. And then we'll go through this saga again next year. In the end, the way Jerry did it was very odd, just not wanting to deal with the representation. It was just like, Jerry, this is how it works, man. And if Micah's asking you to deal with his representation, you got to respect that. And I for the life of me, I just could not understand why. Now, as far as the trade goes, I know he's public enemy number one because of 2 reasons. One, you traded a 26-year-old phenomenal defensive end who was trying to get a contract similar to what we saw from TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and probably Trey Hendrickson and be on par with those guys and trying to get paid the market value. So you trade away an icon of the team at 26. The second part is who you traded him to. You traded him to the Green Bay Packers.
The
who
one
you're going to
team
see
that
in
whooped your ass the last time they walked in your house.
And has consistently knocked you out of the playoffs for the better part of a decade, most recently 2 years ago, going into Jerry's world and putting the beat down on you. Like, that's the thing. That's, I think, what really upset people. Like, if they would have traded him to the Saints or like the Vikings or something like that, you know, even within like the NFC, but not a, you know, not a team that's going to be a contender, you know what I mean? Or obviously an AFC team, then I think it would have been a little bit more palatable. And the third part of it is that's all you got. The 2 first-rounders may sound good, but Green Bay is going to be a good team. So those picks are going to be latter part of the first round. You're not getting creme de la creme. You're not getting a top 10 pick, you know, as if you would if had you traded with a Saints or, you know, what's another team that's going to be bad this year? You know, maybe the Raiders or something like that, where those top 10 picks could be, or those teams could end up being in the top 10. But I think that's the other aspect of it. I like Kenny Clark. I think he could have a good bounce back season. He could help shore up the run defense, which has been a problem for the Cowboys. But it's just, man, it's a bad look for Dallas, but an extremely good one, partner, for the Green Bay Packers. And they are now going to be one of the upper echelon teams of that NFC. You could put them up there with the LA Rams, with the Eagles, with Washington. I think they're certainly going to be up there. What were your thoughts of the deal?
I'll let Jerry talk for a little bit so that way it'll prove my point a little bit better. Take a listen to Jerry Jones saying why he wanted to trade Micah Parsons.
I regret that at all. I'm very, very excited about the prospects of what we've done for the Cowboys. It is give us every opportunity with Dak Prescott and Lamb and the base that we've got to win now. And we made that commitment last year, and we're proud we made it. It had everything to do with this decision. Everything. And so all you need to do, this would, I'm not so sure this would have been results had we not had Dak. But the fact that we have Dak, we need to stop that. We really do. We need to get the ball back.
So, I mean, it sounds a whole lot like how the Dallas Mavericks sounded when they traded Luka Doncic. Oh, we questioned how he was in the locker room. Now you're hearing all this stuff about who he was as a defensive player, even though he was all pro and one of the best in the entire league. He couldn't stop the run now. Like, just all you're hearing all this dumb shit. And honestly, it just speaks to the level of pride that Jerry Jones had. Really what it comes down to is, hey, you're not going to do this the way that you want to do it. We're going to do it the way that I want to do it. If we're not going to do it my way, we're not going to do nothing at all. And I'll trade your ass, goddammit, before I give you $47 million. It's that type of pride and stubbornness that he has, why it led to that. If you knew that you were going to trade him this whole time, you should have traded him earlier so that way you could have gotten more. And the guys that you traded him for and the draft picks that you got, you actually would have picked those guys, or at least a couple of them, and they'd be on your team right now or tomorrow when you're going into Philadelphia before you get your ass whipped on banner night. So there's that part. And then there's also the part of, hey, you wanted this guy, you thought you had a deal, so you didn't want to trade him. And when it came to the fact that he wasn't going to play and he was laying on a trainer's table to pretty much say, fuck you, you weren't ready to just take it and give him what he wanted. You traded him because it's all about pride. So I hate to say it, but there is a racial component with this with Jerry. This never happens with any other players that are of a different color. Unfortunately, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, Zach Martin. I mean, you go down the list of guys that are not like Emmitt Smith, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, or Micah Parsons, or even Michael Irvin, they don't get dragged out the way that it has. So for Jerry, look, they're not going to win anything. I'm going to take their over because Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are going to have an amazing season with throwing the ball and being on the offensive end. They're going to have to throw the ball because the other team is going to just run up the points on their defense. So in order to stay in the game, CD and Dak are going to have to stay upright. And if those guys go down, then the entire season is done, because if you lose Micah, CD, or Dak, or like two of those three, the season's done. So for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't see how they're better right now. For the Green Bay Packers, I hate it because I'm a Rams fan, but I love it if I was a Packers fan, because you get a guy in his prime, and by the time this deal is done, he's going to be ready to re-up for another deal, especially given the productivity level of a Trey Hendrickson and Aaron Donald and guys that are past 30, because by the time this deal is over, Micah Parsons is going to be 30. So
yeah,
man, it's just a lot. But for the Dallas Cowboys, I just don't think how they're going to be better. But that's sports. Some way, somehow, they'll probably cover. I wouldn't even be surprised if they beat the Eagles, if the Eagles come in on a Super Bowl hangover, just flat.
And by the way, their secondary took a hit. I mean, they lost what, 3 guys from that secondary. Darius Slay, I think, is gone. Who else? Sauce Gardner-Johnson is gone, or CJ. CJ Gardner-Johnson. Anyway, he's gone, and I think they lost the safety as well. So, and they didn't really adequately replace those guys. So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Dallas goes in there and stuns everyone, because they hear the noise. They know everyone's going to count them out. And the question is, how are they going to look under Schottenheimer? See, this is in a situation like this. This is where I would prefer a guy like Mike McCarthy, who, by the way, as bad as Dallas was last year, you never got the sense that they quit on Mike McCarthy, which was so shocking that he was never really brought back. They just let that contract run out and they decide, hey, we're going to go with Schottenheimer, which is not an upgrade over Mike McCarthy, not in my opinion, but who knows?
Jerry doesn't value coaching like that. So that's why
he never has, which is why, he wants a bunch of dudes who are just going to be subservient to him, because he is the guy. And no one's doubting Jerry's skill as an owner. He's done a lot of great things for the Cowboys. I think the franchise right now, according to Forbes, is worth anywhere from $10 to $13 billion. It's the player personnel decisions that leaves you scratching your head and leaves you asking, what the hell are you doing? For the same way that Angel fans say that about their owner, Artie Moreno. At some point, you need to have somebody with football savvy. However, I will say this about Jerry. He wears it. He wears it. He knows he's going to wear it. He takes that full accountability and responsibility and everything that comes with it. He does not.
You're giving him credit for that. I'm not giving him credit for that.
I'm not going to give him credit, but I'm stating I'd rather have somebody who does that and doesn't deflect the blame elsewhere when it's all said and done and the heat starts to come on to.
I mean, he literally can't.
Media.
He can't because he totes himself as the.
But Chaz, that hasn't stopped others from doing it in the past. That's all I'm going to say. So
no one's ever the owner and the GM, though.
Very rarely. Yeah, you're right on that.
Not rarely, never. No one's ever the owner and the GM ever. So,
well, I'm sure there's one example somewhere through the years, but yeah, you're right. It's rare. My point is, it's rare. Jerry's probably the last of that, realm of owner and general manager. Anyway, the point is, it's a new day for the Green Bay Packers. They get themselves a fantastic defensive end who's joining a pretty good team. Hopefully Jordan Love stays healthy. And for the Cowboys, they potentially could finish last in that division, because I don't think the Giants are going to be a slouch either this season. So, we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, it's certainly going to make tomorrow night season opener in Philly that much more intriguing.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think I for some reason I want to bet the Cowboys plus 8.5. It just seems like it's too obvious that the Philadelphia Eagles should roll over them by 2 touchdowns, but some way, somehow, they just may not. But we'll see.
The next pressure, though, you better get those picks right. I don't care if they are late first rounders. Jerry and Stephen Jones, you better get those picks right.
Given how they've drafted in the last few years, probably not. So we'll see. Let's finish up tonight's show with a little bit of baseball and talk a little bit about the benches clearing in Colorado, where Rafael Devers and Freeland get into it after this pitch.
In the sport. This ball
Yahtzee.
is in the air to deep right field, and he's done it again. First
Half the
home
people
run
there.
last night for Devers. We got Freeland and Devers.
Freeland talking
Freeland
shit.
took
Hey.
exception to Devers, and we're going to have both benches empty.
Carpenter.
Kyle Farmer's getting in there.
Oh, wow. And we got ourselves a brouhaha.
Two teams going nowhere. So why not play for a little bit of professional pride, right, Chaz?
Right.
It's Willie Adames.
Again, because Kyle said something to Adames started jogging over.
Adames was telling Kyle to leave the field.
It's disgraceful.
Just disgraceful. That's why Bud Black is out of a job. So, Chris, that was pretty much it in that. What did you make of it? And
baseball's filled with unwritten rules, and no one wants to get shown up and everything like that. I mean, for the Rockies, it's this entire season, they've felt like the punching bag. Although they have been better. Honestly, the second half of the year, those first 3 months were absolutely deplorable. But they just split a 4-game set with the Dodgers not more than a week ago. We got to get into the Blue Crew in a sec because. Yikes lately. I mean, look, there's always the unwritten rule. Why are you stealing in a 7-run game? Why are you swinging for the fences on a 3-0 count? All these unwritten rules. Listen, if I got a chance to hit a home run, I'm going to hit a home run. I'm going to marvel at it and everything like that. Devers has always kind of had a little bit of that attitude and edge and swagger when he's out there playing. I think Freeland, it's been a frustrating year. I remember him getting emotional when they were talking about the struggles of the Rockies earlier in the season. Remember, he had that infamous press conference where he basically left crying. I think that was him, where he left the podium just like crying and tearing up and saying that the fans deserve better. So this is an emotional dude who I think is truly proud to be part of the Rockies. So when something like that's going to happen, he's not just going to let it slide by. He's not like the rest of the, a lot of these other baseball players that don't have a personality, that are upset, but are just going to move on to the next guy. He's someone who's really going to speak up. So things got out of hand. Things got escalated. Two teams that have had frustrating years. And sometimes that happens. That's baseball for you, man. So,
yeah, that's baseball. Here's the one thing I don't get. If you don't want the guy to talk shit after he hits a home run or look at it, or he didn't even say anything to you, you said something to him.
Yeah.
And how about you throw it low and away, or you hit your target, or you don't let him hit all of the ball to launch it into the second deck? If he does, just take your ass whooping like a man and say nothing. I don't get it. Like, it's like getting dunked on in basketball. You don't jump and try and dunk and not get dunked on and block somebody's shot and get fucking smashed on and then talk shit to the guy after he dunks on you. Like,
or Chaz,
don't get dunked on.
Or Chaz, in that reference, or be like Chris Dudley and try to throw the ball at Shaq after.
Now, if the guy pushes you after he drop steps you and throws you into the crowd, then yeah, throw the ball at him. But if you're going up, you guys both jump apex and you get hammered, Nurkic.
Yeah.
Then you don't talk shit to LeBron after he hammers you and puts you in the rim.
Yeah,
Damon
for
Jones.
sure. Absolutely. I know a lot of people, I've just taken it to the Dodgers Padres series last year, remember in the NLDS, and everyone was like, the Padres, they're classless, they're talking all that smack. Bro, y'all got whooped on in game 2. So rather than talk about the Padres talking, why don't you talk about how bad Jack Flaherty was, how bad your offense was, how bad your bullpen was. Don't, to the victor goes the spoils. Yeah, I don't like a lot of smack talk either, Chaz. You know what I mean? Especially when it escalates and becomes hostile and everything. A little ribbing once in a while is fine. But, like, why are you talking smack after you're giving up the home run and stuff like that? Be mad at yourself. And maybe deep down he was. Don't be mad at Rafael Devers. I mean, this is how the game is played now. You're showing me up. Well, bro, you don't want me to show you up. Pitch better. Play better. Hit better. Make a good play. Don't get mad at me because I busted your ass. And I will bust your ass again. You know what I mean? Shut me up. And I said that to the Dodger fans.
The ocean.
Exactly. Everyone was like, yeah, Max Muncy to Madison Bumgarner. Like, when it's your guy, you don't care. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
What it is, man. But
grow the fuck up a little bit. Seriously.
I'm glad we were able to talk a little baseball. But no Dodger talk tonight. They're not even worthy of any words
Can
because
I just say one stat for you?
they can't even string together a few wins in a row after their 4-game winning streak last week, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say one stat for you? The offense was what it was tonight. I don't even want to get into that. 12 earned runs allowed by the bullpen in the last 4 games.
The bullpen's not great, but
12, Chaz. 12 in 4 games.
I mean, I think Ohtani went 2 for 4, and the rest of the team went 3 for 20.
Yeah.
Or 3 for 20, or 4 for 28, or whatever it was. Like,
disgraceful. Yeah.
Like, you, even if the bullpen is doing their job, you're not scoring any runs. You were shut out again for the 8th time tonight, Dodgers.
Yep.
So
no, I
can't even put it on this last week. I can't even put it on the bullpen. No, Snell isn't pitching great like last week. No, Yamamoto wasn't. I mean, I guess he was great with the seven innings, but Kershaw wasn't great this last go around. I mean, Sheehan for the first time in months wasn't great tonight. So look, I'm not gonna harp too hard on the pitching or even the bullpen. If Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez, who can't even catch a fucking fly ball in right field, that's what I'm saying. I cannot talk about this team right now.
They can't play
high strung.
Let's see. When they hit, they can't play defense. When they can't play defense, they can't relieve pitch. When they can't relieve pitch, they can't starting pitch. When their offense is clicking, they run themselves off the base pads. When they have the bases loaded, they're grounding into double plays or striking out or having a bunch of
and somehow they're winning
outs.
the division, Chris.
Yeah, because the Padres have been bad right now. And the fact that they're even still within striking distance of the Phillies for the second bye, it's just like, you guys are lucky that these other teams are also in a rough patch right now. And the thing is, it's like, well, the injuries, how much longer are you going to lean on that excuse? You're slowly but surely have gotten pretty much everyone you've needed back, with the exception of maybe Alex Vesia, Tommy Edman, and Max Muncy. But you have enough there that you should be able to win some freaking games, especially against sub 500 teams. You've lost 4 out of 5 against sub 500 teams. That cannot happen at this juncture of the season. April, May will give you a little bit of a pass. But in September, when you haven't sewn up anything yet, and you could potentially go into the wild card round and get bounced, Chaz, against the Arizona Diamondbacks, they scored 6 runs in 3 games, dude. And 5 of those came in the final game.
It's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it whatsoever. But, man.
Get your heads out of your asses. Otherwise, you're going to get a much-deserved trip, early exit in the first week of October that you guys have consistently done over the last couple of years. Yeah. Better believe that.
It's been tough. Well, we'll get off our Dodger soapbox. Thank you guys for tapping in with us tonight on the Outlet Forum. Hope you guys had a great time talking all things sports, basketball, baseball, and football tonight. We'll see you guys next week when we'll get into maybe some developments with the Clippers. I don't know. We'll see, and talk a little bit about week 1 of the NFL season. Appreciate you guys tapping in, and we'll see you next week.